everyone. So, I think HeroMarine went into a game thinking that semifinal would go a little longer, so I messaged him and he'll see it as soon as he wins or loses, I guess. But that's going to give us a little bit of an awkward time before the finals. Just talking to SortOf while I was waiting, asking about that third hatchery, and he says that he's not sure if it's a legit build or not yet, but the real reason for getting it is not just like the mass amount of lings that you can have, which he says can surprise an opponent, obviously, but also that it still gives you some safety. It's 300 minerals, not going into many other things, but it is also, I don't know how many grid spaces it is. I was going to say 2, because I was thinking it probably fills up the same space as 2 evolution chambers, but that's not the same thing as grid spaces. But yeah, it fills up so much of the wall just for being made there that if they did do something aggressive before you did, I guess you could wall off. Fit the queens in there. It's interesting stuff. And thank you to 00 Alex for the 2-month resub. Thanks for the streams. Thanks for watching. And again, we are just waiting for HeroMarine. Guess I'll make a tweet while I have the time. SortOf versus at HeroMarine. Nope, that's not it. Malice HeroMarine? Yeah, there we go. Justify ZvT. Tweet that out once we start. I have HeroMarine on my friends list, so I'm just gonna watch them like a hawk here. Well, I'm not sure what to talk about now. HeroMarine's actually streaming, I guess. Someone just noted that he's in ladder. Yeah, he is. But he's been streaming this entire time. Pretty entertaining. Terran streamer. Sometimes there's so few of them. I did mention that he was a streamer and kind of his general summary. I'm not really sure where he's at. I think people who watch his stream more, maybe he's talked about it a little bit more. But I was like guessing that maybe he was like off for the summer break or something like that, because he's not like a full-time pro 100% of the time. I think at one point in history he was, but yeah, not for a while now. He's been focusing a lot more on school, but still streams and is still a very good Terran player. Just seemed to really bump it up when it came to the last few months. Sadly, he doesn't get the WCS for Montreal, but still looks really good. His TVZ in particular is taking on some Korean Zergs, and it looked quite impressive. I don't remember which Korean Zerg it was, but I do remember he also took on a very good European Zerg in the form of Snoot. And Nerchu, maybe? Both of them? Either one? Sometimes I get confused, to be honest. Because I remember the style of the Zerg more than I remember the name, and a lot of times Snoot and Nerchio, when you think of engagements, you think Roach and Fester, and you're just like, well, both of them can do that. I think I might have been Nerchio, actually, not Snoot. Because Nerchio has this thing where, I think more so than Snoot, he'll get into a very good position with Ultras on the way, and then he'll move in with Roach and Fester and die. Because the Terran player was still defending, waiting for Ultras to pop out, and then he'll lose his momentum. That seems to happen more to Nurture than does to Snoot. Snoot usually just gets, how to say, not outpaced, but he loses the war of attrition, usually always defensive. That's actually probably one of Snoot's greatest strengths, of course, though good he is defensively, but also one of his weaknesses is that there is a little lack of bloodlust, where, you know, you see some other Zergs over-dedicate and lose their advantage, and that sucks. He'll never do that, but he might not get the win when he should, and then he'll lose his steam as he goes on. So kind of like two different ways that they lose games, I guess. So what I was specifically remembering was HeroMarine taking that defensive fight, because HeroMarine is a defensive guy. Nerchio slammed into him, and HeroMarine is like, nope, and then just like slammed back and won the best of 5. It's something extreme too. Like it was a 3-0 something like that. You know, that's why we're so impressed with HeroMarine. My puppetry aside, they get a Froa for the Twitch Prime sub and Rude Boy for the 4-month resub. And we are ready to go as soon as SortOf says he is ready. People noting that I am once again fully blonde. That's true. It's probably the last time I'm going to get my hair bleached, though. To be honest, it's such a pain to take care of. I've learned a lot about hair care from having to take care of my hair more so. When, before I got my hair bleached, I never blow dried and always let my hair air dry. And just like by laziness was pretty nice to my hair. But when you actually get it bleached or dyed, you have to be very careful. Like, you shouldn't blow dry more than ever necessary. You should always use heat protectorant. You should always, use the really, like, strong, nice shampoo and conditioner. And you have to do, like, hair masks and deep conditioning a couple of weeks. And then you also have to worry about using purple toner on bleached hair, like mine, to make sure it doesn't turn all yellowy and gross. There's, like, a lot more stuff you have to do when your hair is under a lot of stress, and I'm kind of tired of taking care of it. Unfortunately, it's already been damaged to an extent. That's just a given, apparently, if you get it bleached, for anyone who I guess is like out there like, I should do this. But it's still a lot easier to take care of when it's not colored. I'm just lazy, guys. That explains a lot of my lot in life. I'm too lazy to argue a lot of the times. Unless I'm particularly stubborn. Then, you'll never hear the end of it. Alright? Pineapple pizza. It's good! Come on! Anyways. Enough of my rants. We finally bought enough time to get into the finals. And it is a TVZ. In the middle left as the blue Zerg, he is SortOf. And in the bottom right as the red Terran, it's HeroMarine. With a 5, there we go. So, didn't play the intro. Wasn't sure how long HeroMarine sort of was going to take to say ready. Instead, I filled it with talk of literally hair talk. Hair talk and shop talk. No stereotypes here. It's Catalina. And sucks we didn't get to play the intro, but still an important map to note. It's default as the first map in this tournament, so that can sometimes be very unfavorable. Occasionally it doesn't really matter, you know, you get the map that you both are okay with anyways, so then sometimes it really does, and for instance, a Zerg player might not want to really play on this map more than other races. We saw earlier today Alive versus Xanster. Alive was able to really pile on the pressure because it's a smaller map, especially if you get the right bases. 3 bases, you know, so much of a chance to get the direct natural to natural way, but yeah, there's the small aspect of it, so pressure is hard to deal with as a Zerg player. There's the very large main base, which makes drop a little bit more dangerous. There's the ledges, which makes proxies and reapers more dangerous, as well as tank pushes, and there are a lot of ramps and plateaus on this map too, which again make tanks more dangerous. So it's like a very sometimes high action, very tense map to play on for any race. Any matchup, but especially for the Zerg player. And what we tend to see on maps where a certain race doesn't like playing on it is early aggression. I hate this map in the mid game, 2x Reaper. I hate this map in the late game, 2 base all in, you know, like that type of theory. So we saw Xanster do the exact same thing basically, pull first into a Roach Warren, SortOf doing it too. Was it seen? Was it seen at all? No, it was not. Seeing that the drones were still in the gas might have been a little bit of a tell, but I'm not sure HeroMarine was looking that closely. Kind of an old school way of trying to figure out what they're doing, and sometimes they just keep it in there anyways for like a faster +1. You know, that's been popular lately. They get a Bob Lob Lobs Lob Bomb. I love your name. I'm surprised I haven't seen you before for the Twitch Prime sub. And Dark Yonix with Twitch Prime sub too. Things are about to get action-packed. HeroMarine finally got that scout into the main base. Saw a couple roaches leaving. Now sees the Roach Warren. But he already produced units that aren't too helpful. For instance, a Widow Mine here. He needs to go into that Cyclone. This wasn't the most direct access, I guess, natural to natural. But still, it's not a very large map, so the roaches are already here. There are Ravagers already made too. They look quite fabulous in purple, I must say. It's like a galaxy on their back. Widow Mine ended up going off on one roach, as it should. Supply depots are raised, Medevac's helping out the tiniest little bits, and a Cyclone is about to pop out, so this should not be a lot of damage. Alive was able to securely hold against this in one of the best ways possible by getting a bunker and a tank, but he canceled stim for it, so it was kind of like a give and take. In this game, HeroMarine has a beautiful defense anyway, and doesn't actually saw his build that much. Now, he does lose his pressure. He lost his Widow Mine, he lost health of the Marines, that Cyclone's basically dead. There it goes, it's dead. But he cleans up all of the units and takes only 2 SCVs worth of losses, so I don't know if that was really worth it for SortOf. He didn't really mess up anything of HeroMarine, except maybe the power of the pressure. But to be honest, 1 medevac's worth of pressure against a Zerg player doesn't usually amount to much. If it's distracting, if it's along with Hellbats, then that's an entirely different story. But if it's literally just a drop, it's like, you know, Queen focus fires, Lings distract. It's usually not a big deal. But a lot more important is the follow-up here. Still Hellions being produced. You know, SortOf might not expect that. I mean, yeah, you saw them go for the Marines first and continue producing Marines. Usually they just kind of stick on it, swap something over for a tech lab. But no, back into Hellions. Into Banshees, still going for stim though behind this. No mech play today, not yet. Will SortOf expect that? It's also even more curious to see even any Hellions, only 2, come out because obviously HeroMarine knows it's roaches, and Hellions don't do well against roaches, so, I'm actually like really questioning why the Hellions came out at all. Yeah, usually you see it just being lifted and added with a barracks. So yeah, a little delayed. But more barracks are on the way. Engineering base, 3rd CC on the front too, a little bit dangerous. Banshee does not quite have cloak and was revealed, so Overseer, I guess, is already being made. Yep, there's a lair. This Banshee is not going to do very much at all. No drones killed. Someone spoke too soon? No, Queen is going to get focus fire, but she gets the medevac. And the drones were mostly pulled, so only a couple of drones are going to go down here. Ah! That was quite the useless Banshee, I must say. That was only 1 Banshee, though. That was the weak one that was pushed off in the first place. So it's kind of weird. It's like, I guess HeroMarine's build was messed up a little bit because he planned on going for a medevac drop right into some harassment units. Medevac drop in a Hellions and a Banshee, and maybe you really get that kind of snowball effect in how difficult it is to hold to each individual one. But because it was delayed, he still went for it, but not at the same potency. So it kind of looks a little bit awkward. 2 Hellions doing mostly nothing. 1 Banshee doing absolutely nothing. And it's like, why even bother? But he's on his way to the bigger and better macro game. Tanks being produced against the confirmed Roach army. Bringing up Xancer once again. He went for the Roach attack, but then actually went for Ling, Baneling, Muta. So it is important to confirm continued Roach production. Second Banshee was made, but she's also finding a difficult time. 2 drone kills for her. Hellions are surprisingly annoying, since there's only 2. They haven't died yet. This is not just potential drone kills, though. This is also keeping tabs on the army. How many roaches did you see pop out, and where are they going? 9 drones in total. Those Hellions are kind of worth surprising, but a big roach attack on the way. SortOf went for 1-1. And has stalled out from there. 45 drones. Can HeroMarine hold on? His Marines, unfortunately, were a little caught off guard, but there were 2 tanks getting a lot of attacks in. The Banshee was brought back home to add a lot of damage to the roaches as well. The tanks, unfortunately, do go down. can he hold? The supply depots aren't lifted. That would have been a lot of time. The third CC is mining without problem, and he can lose quite a few SCVs before this is really worth it for SortOf. The Banshee is just simply going to be getting free damage done, and it is so useful to have against roach pushes specifically. A tank on the high ground doesn't quite reach behind here, but will solidify the defense of his production, which is very important. And the Marines are able to take care of everything else. The third base is finally being shot out here. A couple mules go down with a lot of life still left on them, but most of the SCVs were saved. Only 12 go down. These roaches now up against 1-1 Marines with medevacs and a tank and a Banshee. Unsieged tanks do have decent DPS, guys, so sometimes it's better even to keep them that way. And I would say HeroMarine held with pizzazz. Like, this is a really good hold. 12 SCVs was not enough. At equal worker counts, with a third CC on location, mules will definitely bring HeroMarine forward here. His production wasn't touched. Looks like combat shields may have been delayed because he was, you know, doing everything else, but that is finally on the way, along with 2-2. Even his gas geysers weren't really distracted, so there wasn't even a mistake there. Things looking very good for HeroMarine. And as his tank count grows on this map, since that attack didn't work, the first roach attack didn't work either, tank pushes are going to be really difficult for SortOf to take care of. He would have loved to have been at Infestors and Ravagers already if this was how he knew the game was going to go. Medevac drop into the main base. Again, no combat shields, so they're really not going to take on roaches too well, but even the distraction can help. Maybe a couple of drones go down. Sim looks for individual roaches to target fire, gets one of those, not too shabby, but leads the way for the real charge here. 2-2-1, not really close to being done, but a very, very good looking army. Equal army supplies, but when you really consider the weight of tanks versus roaches, compositionally not equal. Fourth base on the way for SortOf, but he only has a handful of Ravagers really, and a lot of them are just being produced. No Infestors. HeroMarine has defended 2 very aggressive Zerg attacks, so I think he knows it wouldn't be Infestors anyways, but if there were, he managed to sneak those out. You know, pulled back on the roach protection a little bit. So the scans would have revealed them. No one really goes Infestors without Burrow. It's much better to have Burrow with them. Pretty tiny roach attack, but finding the perfect timing. Gets on top of a tank while it sieges. Not enough Marines to really help that, but a kind of cool SCV surround sends the roaches packing. This is the position that I was talking about at the very beginning of this game, where you could even abuse this one and start just dropping on top of the base. This one is more threatening to where the army is going to be. The army is obviously going to be protecting the most bases possible, which in this case is natural in the third. It does give also a large concave to SortOf, but it's going to be going up a ramp into tanks. Corrosive Biles not plentiful enough to take out the tanks immediately, do eventually, and he will push this back the first time. Now most of the Marines are picked up here, and there's still a lot of tanks being produced on the backside, 2 at a time. 2-2-1 was done for the attack as well, so it's really good that SortOf was able to take that attack down. But that's only step 1 in this game. The drop went over here, beautiful attack actually, nothing was able to defend. No drones able to kill either, but that just means that SortOf was already in a bad spot. So the hatchery now going down further extends that. Still no additional tech coming out here from SortOf either. Really going very all in yet again on pure Ling Roach Ravager. This time, I guess, to note, a lot more Ravagers, so the tanks might not be able to get as many shots as they did in the last couple of fights. The Marines should be unloaded. If they're unloading during a fight, so obviously that's bad news. They are now. HeroMarine was trying to take a 4th base. This is not all of HeroMarine's army attacking, but SortOf might have made the mistake of going for too many Ravagers. They didn't actually target fire the tanks at all, and in doing so got blasted by them 3 or 4 times. And with their limited health, Marines actually chew through them so quickly. This was here SortOf's last attempt to win this game and did not work out. GG. HeroMarine takes game number 1 in this best of 5. I see someone looking in chat, so I'd like to remind you all that we did have to make a new YouTube. We're not making a second one, but this is literally replacing our old one. So if you guys want to stay up to date on all the VODs or anything special we put on there, you're going to have to follow the new one, which we would greatly appreciate. And someone could, once again, link it. They get a 1 breaker for the 17-month resub, by the way. Ascension to Ire is the next map. I would say the fear of facing a Terran player like HeroMarine, one that is totally comfortable going on 3 bases for a long time, playing into even a fast 4th, and Mass Tank Liberator, is that you don't get to take advantage of that mid-game. You know, I think for a guy like Euthermal, his greatest fear is a huge map like Ascension to Ire, where he's going to get surrounded, he's going to not be able to rally push. He's all about the aggression, and he's really all about the mid-game. So, SortOf would just be able to calmly and more decisively take good engagements and take leads going into the late game. He might just be facing an equally comfortable Terran on a map like this. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes down. In the bottom right, already up 1 game, it is HeroMarine. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is SortOf. Thought I was gonna check something, and now I'm realizing I don't remember what. Huh. Oh well. Right. HeroMarine. I'm making HeroMarine sound like a perfect player, maybe, to some of you guys. Like, I just keep praising how patient he is and how macro-oriented he is. Obviously, praising him and then seeing him win 2-0 versus Keen, already 1-0 versus SortOf, might give you the misunderstanding them saying he's a perfect player and this is the perfect way to play Terran. No, absolutely not. Obviously, Euthermal is still, I think, the more famous European Terran with more results. There's a couple of things to be said about just how much they're playing, of course, but still, a lot of different ways to play Terran. A lot of different Zergs to find those advantages to be taken from both different types of players, aggressive and defensive. It's just that sometimes, because HeroMarine is the odd guy out, he is the one that's more like a spoon Terran, like a Thorazane, bringing it back from years past, it throws this, you know, this meta I suppose everyone's expecting a little bit off. Now, from what we see from the Koreans and the other tournaments that we cast, that I cast, defensive and 3rd CC focused builds are making their way back into the matchup, TVC specifically, and even TVP. So that might be changing as a whole, but again, like, I think when it comes to most Terrans that we see, it's about relentless aggression, power pushes, rally pushes, multiple drops, you know, all that type of stuff. And to face someone who's definitely the different tempo really throws people off, you know? I would say that HeroMarine's probably one of those guys that wins 2 and then loses 3, if the other guy really is the better player overall. Because they're like, kind of still getting used to him, and they're like, oh, that's how he does it. Alright, I know how to do this now. So we'll see if SortOf is able to also match that. Now, again, not to oversell anyone or undersell anyone, a lot of that last game also had to do with the map. Catalina being, well, it has multiple favorable positions for Terran players. Zergs do feel that necessity, perhaps, to be aggressive, to play a little different themselves. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Sort of tried 3 different roach attacks, early game, mid game, sort of late game, and all of them did not work. Them's the breaks. But now on his own map choice, Ascension to Ire, much bigger map, much more normal map, things could just be entirely different. Everything's out the window anyways. Thank you to Dordikite. Oh, well, I'm gonna go with that one. For the Twitch Prime sub. Since we're nearing the end, I suppose, and we have almost the peak amount of people already in here. Rifkin is not co-casting because he has a very important appointment. Again, tripping me up on that one. Important appointments that cannot be missed. So, I am solo casting. It's actually going to be a pretty short cast, unless these next 4 games go super, super long. And I'm okay with that. Both Rifkin and I will not be back on the channel to cast for quite a few days. You'll have Zeph and Maynard for Saturday and Sunday. For Colonial Wars, though. He's going to PAX. Say hi to him if you're going as well. And I am going to a funeral. You probably won't be able to see me and say hi to me. That'd be super weird. You'd have to literally be like a cousin or something. Considering all the cousins I have in that side of the family are like 40, that'd be like super extra weird. But this drop is what he wanted to do last game, and he is not following up the same way. Not quite anyways. This drop, I want to say, the ideal situation for this drop is either like 20 lings or 2 queens. Doesn't get either of those. Nicely defended by SortOf, but does save the medevac and most of the marines, so continued damage later on. I said he's not following up the exact same way, but pretty similar. As you see, he goes for 4 Hellions, not 2, and he goes for a Raven, not a Banshee. So still, I think the idea of that continued snowball, that either literal snowball of units, I thought maybe pair the Hellions up with the Marines, or the snowball of actions, literally the Zerg player not expecting Marines, then Hellions, then Raven, then Banshee, then whatever else, like, either one can be kind of scary, even with these very basic units. But SortOf looks like he's totally prepared. He did to the Hellions, and has Queens defending one side, Lings on the other. Even kept the Lings way, way back so the Hellions would get on top of the creep as far as possible and not be able to retreat. Nicely done there. Cleans that up entirely. This Overlord will be able to see the 3rd command center because HeroMarine just simply isn't shy about showing that. Or about putting it in the wall. If you try this, you will die. If you have sex, you will die. No, like, it's actually kind of difficult. Sometimes the gap on the left side or something like that just isn't... It doesn't look like there's a gap, but there is, so... We always like to make fun of people who choose to do it. We've seen a lot of pro gamers in the past on weirder maps actually mess up, so it's legit. But auto-turret harassment on top of what was the Hellions, what is the Marines... All of this is still not getting a lot. SortOf's doing a very, very good job defending. He's got Fast +1, Carapace already on the way, a Spire, and a Baneling Nest. He did get a 2nd Evolution Chamber, but just is holding off on +1 melee. Either way, it's not very surprising. 1 upgrade Zerg has definitely made its way into popularity. There's the 2nd one. The new channel isn't linked to Twitch, Facebook, etc. Why change? Let's talk about the YouTube channel, I guess, that I brought up in between the games. Literally no money was being made on the last account due to what could have been clerical errors, but basically Google wouldn't let it take any money, and they weren't responding to getting it fixed. Rifkin has done the whole detailed spiel in the last couple of tasks we've done, if you want to look up those. But that's kind of like the summary. It's just we actually were literally not making any money off of it. The guy that helps us with it, Joey, nice username, was getting paid through Rifkin's own pocket because there was no money being made. So, in the sake of, you know, starting over and actually hopefully growing something that is profitable, you just had to kind of bite the bullet and make a new one entirely. So, again, if you haven't heard, please subscribe to our new YouTube. Raven still continuing their harassment. Won't be stopped till those mutas are out. Only 2 so far. Looks like SortOf did not have enough gas to get mutas, upgrades, and centrifugal hooks. Don't blame them. It's a lot of gas. Banelings are off of creep. Definitely snipeable, but there are so many. I keep wanting to say Mouse. I've never done that for anyone else with a clan tag, but HeroMarine didn't want to take that chance. Just lifts and leaves. Raven harassment continuing, despite the mutas trying to chase them down. In total, how many drones have been killed here? 7? I mean, that's 7 for 4 Hellions, a Reaper, and 2 Ravens, guys. So, like, probably not worth, especially with the Ravens dying. This one barely alive, but also not too bad, just because it's taken so long. It's not like the 4 Hellions were the pinnacle of HeroMarine's build, right? But now... this is looking a lot stronger. You can kind of rally push the best with this attack path on Ascension to Ire from your 3rd to their 4th base, but what this leaves open is so much counterattack potential for the Zerg. So even though this is sometimes not the biggest deal, finding a position to attack, it still leads to this right here, which is losing SCVs. HeroMarine was more worried about an attack going into his natural than his 3rd, so unfortunately late to the response, despite having enough units to respond with, loses 19 SCVs. He's continuing forward with his push though. It's Widowmine base, not tank base this time. He's even trying to get drilling claws. It's a pretty good split. There aren't enough banelings it looks like, but there might be enough lings. Actually, yeah, there was enough banelings to help out, so the reinforcements should just cut it here. But HeroMarine's own reinforcements actually catches a lot of mutas trying to go back home. Those are all the mutas trying to go back home. That in itself was pretty worth it. He's going to try and trade out as much as possible. Nice Widowmine hit on that big Ling clump, and HeroMarine is barely surviving with this push. There aren't any Marauders to help soak up the banelings, but there are no more banelings left over. Sheer numbers are able to do the trick. These Widowmines all have an attack ready to go, and now they have drilling claws, so they'll be easily micro. GG. HeroMarine takes game number 2. Alright, HeroMarine. I thought he'd do really well. Again, try not to oversell him too much, but he just looks really good in TVZ. I don't know what it is. Because obviously that wasn't really that defensive or like macro-oriented of a game. He got the 3CC, but there was harassment during it. There was a rally push at the end of it. He's still good in most departments of TVZ. What can SortOf actually do to bring this back? It's going to be his map choice again, but want to fit in a quick 2-minute break before then, so see you as soon as the lobby's ready. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the Corsair Cup Finals. This could be the last game. On the bottom right, he's up to 0. It's the Blue Terran, HeroMarine. In the top left, as the red Zerg, it is SortOf. So, yeah, basic overs of TVZ here. Actually, a gas first. A necessity in this matchup. That's what HeroMarine's going for. Let's see where that leads to. He had not like the greatest openers. None of his wins were based off of Hellbat pushes or Banshees getting a lot of damage. In fact, sometimes the units he got from the openers were downright, like, useless. They actually didn't do very much. But what has happened is a strong macro focus on the backside, as well as, I want to say, decent trades, decent utility from the units he did get. Not the direct damage of literal drones going down. The Ravens didn't do that much. The Banshees in the first game didn't do that much, but the Banshees did help against the Roaches. The Ravens did notify him if there was an attack coming or where the units were. The Ravens also did help him maybe clear up creep occasionally. I actually didn't bother looking. That's another reason to get Ravens sometimes, by the way. I didn't get to mention that last game because he actually used them purely for harassment, but sometimes they're very useful. Dangerous because their acceleration and speed still isn't very good, but useful. Just command center, hatchery into spawning pool. There's the factory, as expected. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he just went for the same thing again. Marine drop into Hellions into Banshee. The added safety, by the way, of going for those Hellions, because I think this is something that's important to note for Terran players, is that the worst thing you can do if you don't open up Hellions is get countered. If you go for a 2-1-1, you have enough Marines, and usually the wall off is fast enough. Terran players even specifically wall off with the 2-1-1 so they don't have to be worried about it. But if you go for a Marine drop or a Widowmine drop, or you try and go straight to Banshees in some weird different type of build, and you don't back it up with Hellions, or, I'll give you this one, or if you go for a Hellbat push, or only for Hellions, and you lose them all, and you don't reinforce with more, you are so in danger of being countered by like 20 Lings. Certainly the Hellion production is an added harassment tool for this guy. It's also a bit of a safety tool, because if your medevac drop is cleaned up, if it doesn't distract, if they just respond with queens and send their lings elsewhere, your natural base isn't quite covered by a wall, and he's even putting his third base in his wall, so that would be like a big cancel. Sort of could do that. So I guess just in case you ever do try, because I think this actually affects Hellbat pushes more than anything. That's where I die. I do a Hellbat push, and then I don't make more Hellions, and then I die to like 20 lings, and I'm like, well, that was embarrassing. So I think I'm just trying to like wrap my head around why this is such a good build to do every single time, because now confirmed, he's done it every single time. For SortOf, obviously, it's a little less interesting for the Zerg player, I think, in this matchup. You are doing mostly the same build every single time, but there's definitely some mix-up here. You know, obviously the Roach attack in the first game, you can go Roaches or Lings as a macro game in general, or in this case, for SortOf's case, you can go for a really fast Lair, which is probably for a very fast Spire. He might be just really looking for that damage in return. I brought up Ling counterattacks against people who don't go Hellions. Well, maybe kind of same idea if you go fast Mutas. Their production, their Marine production, sorry, is not going to be very strong. That's a flybox, sort of. It's not going to be very strong since they're adding on the third CC behind this and Starport and Factory production. So if you can get fast enough Mutas, get about 8 of them, they might have to really just bunker down in 2 bases, and that might give you the lead in a straight-up macro game. It's still not very common, though. For what was 90% of games in Heart of the Swarm, the 2-base Spire or 3-base fast Spire, no upgrades, either one, is really fallen out of fashion. Well, I said it was a fast Spire, but they didn't get enough gas to do it, so it's just a fast Lair. This actually confuses me a little bit, guys. Double Evolution Chamber is going to be for upgrades? Okay. Well, obviously HeroMarine sees an opportunity here. He sees not a lot of Lings, not too many Queens, and an abusable position, so while that wall stopped the Hellions from running in, it also stopped SortOf from attacking the units. So he loses an Evolution Chamber. As a commentator, you never want to be like, well, that's just the wrong build, unless you're 110% sure. And I'm not 110% sure, but I'm looking at the pace of SortOf's build here, and it just doesn't seem to be working out too well. He barely had enough gas to even get the second upgrade if that Lucian didn't even die. The fast Lair doesn't actually help with anything instead of fast Overseer, which is not the most helpful thing. I think you definitely want to save the gas and build Spore Crawlers if you're worried about dealing with Banshees. Oh well. He's getting to 4 bases, 67 drones, and all of the gas tech he needs right now anyways, so let's just forgo the fact that he got a faster Lair, because I'm pretty sure that was a fast Lair, and go into the macro game. So HeroMarine has a 3rd base, and has done an okay job harassing. That lasted quite a long time, and I think it's something that's underutilized, is just how long does it take something to be cleaned up, and that did take a while. Canceled, killed an Evolution Chamber even, so the +1 melee was delayed. SortOf is going to be going into Ling, Baneling, Hydra. It's the ultimate end goal here for his composition. And that is a different approach to the last 2 games. He's tried Roaches, he's tried Mutas, now he's going to go for Hydras, which is definitely more about direct engagements. Here Marine saved his Hellions, saved a lot of Marines, he's about to have 1-1. And combat shields, and could definitely turn these Hellions into Hellbats, which would still be helpful against Ling, Baneling, Hydra. His armor supply is up by 10, but his upgrades aren't quite done yet, so maybe going in a little prematurely. He scans ahead. I look at that and he judges. It's got a lot of Banelings, and he's still on creep. But that Raven that I brought up earlier, doing its job clearing up the creep now, for sure. Easy peasy, no scans necessary. Except to see what the army looks like. Is now going into tanks, perhaps, too? Yep, he is going to tanks. Well, he is going to turn those Hellions into Hellbats and look super cool with that skin. and just avoid the area he was in, so creep spread can be planted down again for sort of. Nope, just kidding, goes back to it. Nope, just kidding, goes around it. Which is an overseer. Since this isn't the 4th base taken, I guess there isn't much of a reason to break down the rocks. Well, HeroMarine just continuing to bulk up his forces now in a second factory, and 2-2 on the way. Sort of gets to go for a very fast hive. That infestation pit was not put down too long after the Hydralisk end, so definitely makes sense to get a fast hive. Not the fastest we've ever seen by far, but still pretty quick. I go for ultras, so I also would expect +2 melee. There's missing gas though, actually. Spending a lot of Balins, a lot of hive to try and survive any attack HeroMarine's gonna do, but since HeroMarine is gonna transfer over into tanks, I think he's gonna want to wait for a few more. But off of 2 factories, he'll have quite enough soon. Actually gonna attack with 2 of them. 2. That's a lot of Marines. That is still about 30 up in the army supply, and the infestors aren't quite ready to go. Only 1 is being produced, but it will have a fungal right off the bat. Scans ahead, just clear up the creep. Where did that Raven go? Oh, it went for harassment. Killed 6 drones. HeroMarine taking his time, sort of chose this map yet again, being the loser, Abyssal Reef. While it has chokes, it also has so many different avenues that you can get surrounds and run-bys. It's trying to set up a huge concave right now. It could work out really well, but HeroMarine very cautious about going too far into creep. Already pre-split even to the back lines. That infestor was such a ninja. Barely escaped out of that scan range, but it's looking for the perfect fungal. It's really not going to be able to find it. Oh, there's a good one, and he grabs it. Tanks, though, are still kind of protecting that large group of Marines, so while they're very close to being dead, they didn't actually die, and 3 tanks still survive. Not a bad start to a fight, but it's really scary not to actually push the Terran back when they're so close to one of your mining bases. Finally zoom in again. Sort of has lost his almost complete surround potential and is now just attacking from really one angle. Another fungal does go down, and he is able to save the infestor. This one pops its fungal too, but it's such small groups of units. The tanks are really the powerful, like, backbreaker here. Sort of is not able to push the army back and is now taking the worst trade in that second fight. And it's just inching ever closer. Behind this, HeroMarine added on production, added on a 4th base. Gonna turn into a planetary soon. 3-3, about halfway done, and he is just feeling the pressure. Now, he got that pretty fast high, but it waited a long time to actually get the Ultralisk Cavern, so it's not gonna have Titan spending anytime soon. A couple fungals did go down on the army in front of the tanks, but still, if any Marines survive, the tanks are still kind of protected, you know? Sort of does not have an overwhelming army, and actually HeroMarine pouncing on top of what is really no army and unsiege the tanks. GG, HeroMarine takes the 3-0 over our European Zerg. GG, HeroMarine, I don't know, he looks so strong. I'm really enjoying watching his playstyle too. Thank you to McMarzipan for the 18-month resub. I don't want to comment too much on that game's opener for sort of, because I'm not confident in saying that he messed up, but it did look a little wonky. Usually you can definitely put off that hive, or that lair. I didn't actually catch the timing of it, but like till 5 minutes. I think it was a lot earlier. Usually you can go for the upgrades before you can start the lair 2, and it looks like he didn't actually correctly account for the gas needed, because he went 1 gas into slapping down 5 at once, so... Again, not too confident to say it was bad, but certainly HeroMarine has showed us in 3 games anyways that he is just a very strong TVZer, so, you know, what does it matter? Sort of tried 3 different styles, too, and all of them were unable to work against the guy, so HeroMarine just really, really strong. That's gonna be it for the cast. As I said, not a very long cast at all, just 2.5 hours, just breezing through it. A lot of 2-0s, 3-0 for the finals. I don't mind it. Oh, I missed Wardy hosting, by the way, 17 minutes ago. Thank you very much for the host. I hope your wrist is feeling alright. Hi, Wardy viewers. But that is going to be it for the cast. And HeroMarine takes first place. SortOf still walks away with quite a bit of cash, too. This was the finals, and they pay out to the top 4, so we got $100. That's really nice. And I think HeroMarine gets an instant invite and $200 instant invite to the next finals, if I'm not mistaken. The bracket is currently with the weekly rules on it, so don't... oh no, the points carry to the next season. That is updated. So the points carry to the next season, so by getting first, I mean... if he plays in any cups in the next month, then he'll probably be back for the next month's finals. Like I said, that's it. Just need to shouts now and then end on a break and then host someone. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Thank you for the subs and the bits and the resubs. And I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Rifkin was out doing special, important adult things, meeting with accountants and all that. So I was solo casting. We won't be back on this. We won't be back on this channel for a couple of days. He's going to PAX. Say hi to him. I'm going to a funeral and visit family. So we both won't be around to even stream on our own channels. But Maynard and Zeph will be back for Colonial Wars this weekend, so you can still catch some BaseTradeTV action with a couple of Aussies. You'll see me back Saturday nights, Rifkin back Tuesday morning for the Alima League. So the next time you'll see us together is the Alima League. Next time we'll see me cast is the Corsair Cup on Monday. And then Wednesday of next week, I am flying to Montreal to get prepped for WCS. Please cheer for me so I show you good casts. Oh, Paraphobia even hosted me base trade with 41 viewers. Thank you. Unfortunately, this is the end of the cast, so a little awkwardly timed, but appreciate the gesture. I might stream later tonight, depending on how I feel, or even soon, because I didn't expect it to be done so soon. No promises, but maybe. But please look at the links down below for Corsair. This was the Corsair Cup, so sponsored by Corsair and Twitch. If you look down below, you can travel to any part of the site, and that still attributes to us. We are looking into having a new sponsor, perhaps at the start of the month too, so get excited for that. Use the Amazon links down below as well. If you're going to use Amazon for anything, that directly helps me. The percentage of whatever you pay for. And please follow me on Twitter at ZG Gaming, YouTube, and Twitch, Zombie Grub. Follow the BaseTradeTV account here, press that follow button, and follow the YouTube account since we need everyone to move on over to the new YouTube. The old one is going to be dead. I think that covers it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.